When I look at these robots and I look at everyone, I could say from laying out a pile to putting a torque tube in to putting rails on to mounting modules and securing modules, I see it from start to finish.
Yeah.
There will be a moment that if you're not on the train, you will get left behind.
Over the course of the last several hours, I've had the chance to see how these robots behind us operate, but it's one thing to see and hear the folks that are creating it tell you what they're building it for. It's quite another to have someone who has a decade plus of experience in driving piles and driving people to completion on projects talk about the implications of what this technology can do to build our projects and our industry at a velocity that we desperately need. Cody Houser is one of those folks who has been building these projects at lightning speed. FTC rightly brought him in-house to adapt that knowledge to the constructability of their product. You've managed crews up to hundreds.
Yeah, what 250 guys before.
What would having this kind of technology for you back then have done for the efficiency or effectiveness of the team? Like, what does it add to a company like yours?
It effectively creates a known baseline day to day that you can reliably stand behind.
Yeah.
So when you go to estimate a project and you look at schedule, you anticipate daily install rates, but all of a sudden you get workers in that are all temporary workers that are local that have never seen a tracker, for instance. So for me, after lunch, you're tired, people are getting hurt. 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, you may as well send people home.
Yeah.
When I look at a robot, it doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have emotions. I don't have people complaining. They don't have a funeral or wedding to go to.
Yeah.
So for me, the reliability of saying, I did this job aggressively.
Right.
Are we going to hit the mark by the end of it? And if so, being aggressive and winning more projects within that. So for me to take a labor force and make it more reliable from the non-physicalities, but the ultimate output of completing what was due every day on your board and basically effectively with the highest quality.
Yeah.
To where an owner developer long-term can look back and say, well, we know based on the install, we had the highest degree of product, completion is available at the time. So
I was reflecting on a project I was consulting on late teens. It was a project up in Northern California. And on December 13th of what was effectively like a 27-day sprint to turn on by the 31st, the foreman, the main job supervisor, who was essentially running all day on site, slipped on ice, broke his back, effectively ruined his career.
Right, yep.
I was sort of watching the technological advancements here and how if we had these devices in 2018 when that accident happened, it wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Because the crews would have been able to take the same pace all day long. The robots are doing the heavy lifting. The foreman isn't running around like a turkey with his head cut off, right? I feel like there's a level of the industry of how we've built in the last decade of chaotic momentum.
Right.
Right? And everyone's sort of falling forward.
That's it.
And the road rising to catch them in many ways, like just the momentum of the industry. We're at a place now that we're at a precipice in the industry where the needs for the industry are vastly outstripping our human capital. Not our resources, but our human capital. As you've gotten deeper into the robotics sector, where do you see the robots specifically, and maybe you can name some of the folks that you see here,
sure,
having the greatest impact over the next 12 months?
First off, I'll touch on this with you real quick, and then I'll fall back to that.
Sure.
Our current labor force that we're seeing right now, in the next 12 months, I've seen it in the last 2 years, these guys have been in it for 20 years, the best of the best.
Yeah.
You don't have many of those shoes getting filled again, first of all. Second of all, there's a lot of other areas you can go make good money now without being in the sun
and
physically working.
Yeah.
And so as I see the loss in the labor force, I think to answer your question, this kind of falls back in, is you're going to find that when the bigger companies start taking on more megawatts and more projects, you never have the A-team that you're known for on the projects that you normally say, wow, when they show up, they're always the A-team. Well, that's not the case. You do have the C-team now. So to revert back and implement the leaders that have to teach those massive teams, those leaders can now revert over to something that's so consistent that they can always rely on, and it's not physically based in the field on an hourly basis. It's supporting a machine, a robot that's potentially going to go do all of the heavy lifting for it. So now it's more sophisticated around how do we structure our workflow in the next 12 months with a panel placement machine, for instance. How do we implement that into our daily workflow that's not based around labor and crews, but actually purely in the field, start building out a structure that relies on this task is done in the next 12 months, and we're going to build the flow of our entire company's field structure around that. So that's where, when I look at these robots and I look at everyone, I could say from laying out a pile to putting a torque tube in to putting rails on to mounting modules and securing modules, I see it from start to finish. So will that be 12 months? Maybe not, but should the push, the openness to the potential of what it could be from the tracker side, from the EPC side, there will be a moment that if you're not on the train, you will get left behind. So that's kind of the 12-month outlook, is I expect to see a lot more panel placement for sure. How do we do some time studies and understand what consistent 24-hour running for layout looks like? So there's a lot of things that I'd like to say in the next year we will see really come to light as to what the key potential reduction in labor, increase in efficiencies in daily production looks like.
Do you see the technological advancement improving intangibles in the bid, like insurance?
Absolutely. When I look at the safety-related insurance potential items that can be had within a project when things go really wrong, just from a lack of supervision, people pushing people too hard in the heat, guys doing simple labor that maybe piles are big and they've lifted them too far and they fall down in your face all of a sudden, and it cascades the more you push people. And for me, when I look at insurance premiums, when you have a reliable system that is so safe that you've never put a human in the way of a potential danger, mechanically at least, I think that you're going to see a lot of EPCs realize that their safety rating and winning jobs on their EMR rating is as important from a quick review from a major owner developer as anything.
One of the things that I'm surprised by is just how advanced the technology is. But more importantly, I remember Aussies, the guy from Aussies, was saying that they've deployed just in the U.S. over 4 million modules with their module placement machine. And he said, and he was very specific to say, and that's not including India, where they basically don't have rules around this or laws or restrictions. What do you think people are underestimating about how fast this is all moving?
I think a lot of the field techniques these days are still old school, as I would call it, that the superintendents and foremans that know how to do it, same way, are sometimes hard pressed, because their labor force diminishes some. Maybe it's people that they want to have a job, but more so, I just think that your overall efficiencies that are the output of these machines is just, you cannot deny where it's going. And if an EPC doesn't want to at least accept it right now, I think you're very foolish to do so.
I would describe Pioneer as robotics ready. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair. I think when we look at design and even our future roadmap right now of components, it's like I said, the robotics teams are, trying to collaborate with us. Well, we are doing the same in reverse. And for us to not be on the cutting edge of how every piece could be installed and understand how to illustrate that to the guys that can help us do that, we're only hurting the entire industry ourselves by making the labor force continue to do some of the hard tasks.
I remember when I was at Trina, there were some things like being PID free or having a certain Pascal rating and a wind uplift rating. Like you couldn't install in Miami-Dade County without 140 mile per hour wind rating on the rack and on the module, right? A certain Pascal rating on the module. Do you envision a future where RFPs and EPC requirements have a level of robotics readiness?
I know they're going to favor the groups that do. So
what does that look like?
It's funny you say that. I talk to a lot of the tier ones on a weekly basis. Everyone being as intrigued as they are showing up to this event speaks for itself. I think most of the historical robotics involved in solar has been putting a panel onto a rack. I think when I look at the full circle start to finish, if you don't have every task robotically at least considered in some form or fashion right now, that you're probably behind the ball.
Yeah.
So for me, when I look at Pioneer, everything we've put on it is basically has got the capability of a robot building in every step. So for me, that's a huge potential that we have not unlocked within the EPC partnerships. So when we can collaborate at that level and I can start showing the benefits of the install rates, we're seeing 15% by humans faster with Pioneer on the mechanical line item.
Yeah.
For me alone, I mean, I get chills when I say that.
Yeah.
So for me alone, streamline that from the start of the clock to the end of the clock every day and run that out over days, years. Those efficiencies build margin into an EPC. And that margin either helps you get aggressive because you know where those margins are.
There.
And now you can go bid a project really
More
aggressively
aggressively,
with more margin because you know a certain rack is going to get you to an efficiency level that no other rack will. So for me, that piece isn't talked about. And what if they don't pass that margin on and get aggressive?
Right.
What if they keep it in-house? Now we've juiced a margin to a level that the company's got bonuses and making money that they haven't seen on a normal solar project yet by simply taking a rack and pairing it with the right robot.
You know, one thing that was oddly underplayed, I'm going to say downplayed today? AI.
AI was massively down. People are getting so used to it that you don't even realize everything within the working pieces has fully brought it in-house and is just on almost all these machines.
Yeah,
so,
like nobody was leading with AI in their descriptions today. And yet, none of these companies exist without AI.
Not at all. No. Yeah. Could I say what's going to happen in 12 months to 5 years? And I don't know, but where we could be, gosh, it's hard to believe that we're here. I've waited for 10 years for this moment. So
I'm glad you said that. So finish this sentence and we'll finish with this.
Got it.
In 10 years, we will think it was crazy that
a group of humans could remotely interface from their office or home as not only operators, but just oversight to fully autonomous material handling, layout, installation, QA, QC, 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And someone is remotely overseeing all of that to the point that safety goes away.
Yeah.
That you have a few leadership members out there, a few owners really happy.
Yeah.
And you've got a schedule that never misses.
Yeah.
So that's where it will be. And could it be even further? Gosh, I sure think so.
The way things were done for the last 15 years in this industry are going to look like Stone Age.
They are.
In 10 years.
I think we're going to see an exponential ramp in the capabilities through the physical capabilities, but also AI-based, like being able to interpret quick things in the field and the robot continues its workflow.
Yeah.
That's the moment that everything begins to be believable as an EPC that you trust in the machine finally. So the trust and comfort becomes the key moment when everyone's jumped off the ledge. All the EPCs agree this is working. Yeah. And then you're going to see the influx of cash into the space even harder. And then you see the ultimate result. And that's fully autonomous builds.
And the true emphasis of the lexicon of the word. Amen.
Yeah. Amen.
May it be so.
Well,
Cody.
Yeah. Thanks again,
brother.
Nico. Thanks.